3 real military blunders that sound made up. From drunken chaos to deadly friendly fire, the truth is stranger than fiction. War is chaos, but sometimes the greatest dangers come from within. Entire armies have fallen by mistake, leaders have faced deadly confusion, and soldiers have been destroyed by their own weapons. These are the military blunders nobody believed were real, and the full stories are far stranger than fiction. First, the Battle of Karansebes. In September 1788, during the Austro-Turkish War, the Austrian army camped near Karansebes in modern Romania. With 100,000 men gathered, tension was high. That night, cavalrymen went searching for the enemy, but instead stumbled upon local gypsies selling alcohol. What began as a drunken night of drinking soon spiraled into one of history's strangest disasters. As the cavalry drank, infantry soldiers demanded their share. When refused, tempers flared, and a fistfight erupted. Suddenly, a shot rang out in the darkness. Panic spread instantly. Some thought the Ottoman army had launched a surprise attack. Officers shouted, "Turks! Turks!" and chaos erupted across the Austrian lines. In the confusion, Austrian soldiers began firing at shadows, then at each other. Cavalry charged blindly into infantry, convinced they were enemy troops. Entire units fled in terror. Some even shouted commands in different languages, which only made things worse. German, Hungarian, and Italian regiments mistook each other for enemies. For hours, the Austrians fought against themselves. Cannons were fired into their own men, officers were trampled by retreating troops, and wagons overturned in the panic. By dawn, hundreds of Austrian soldiers were dead or wounded. When the Ottomans finally arrived, they didn't need to fight. The Austrian army had already destroyed itself. Historians believe up to 10,000 Austrian casualties came from their own weapons that night. The Battle of Karansebes remains one of history's most unbelievable friendly fire incidents, a moment where alcohol, fear, and poor communication wiped out an army before the enemy even arrived. Second, George Washington's friendly fire. In 1758, during the French and Indian War, George Washington was a young officer serving under the British. His troops were part of a campaign to capture Fort Duquesne, near present-day Pittsburgh. But one dark night, in dense forest, confusion struck, and Washington found himself in the middle of a deadly blunder. 2 separate British colonial units were moving in the dark, one from Virginia under Washington, another from Maryland. Neither knew the other's exact position. Suddenly, through the trees, movement was spotted. Both sides believed they had encountered French troops. Muskets cracked. In seconds, allies were firing directly at each other. The firefight raged until Washington himself rode into the line of fire, shouting and waving his sword. Risking his life, he galloped between the volleys, screaming for the men to stop. Slowly, the firing died out. The damage, however, was horrific. Around 40 men killed by their own comrades. This event haunted Washington's career. It showed how fragile battlefield communication was in the wilderness. Even a future president could not prevent disaster in the chaos of war. Archaeologists have since uncovered musket balls and artifacts at the site, evidence of a friendly fire incident few Americans know ever happened. Washington's leadership that night, personally risking his life to stop his men from killing each other, foreshadowed the calm and determination he would later show as commander in the American Revolution. But still, the tragedy remains one of the most unbelievable blunders of his early career. Third, the Tarnack Farm Incident. In April 2002, Canadian soldiers from the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry were conducting a live-fire training exercise near Kandahar, Afghanistan. That night, they practiced with rifles and mortars at Tarnack Farm, an area once used by Al-Qaeda. But in the skies above, 2 U.S. F-16 pilots were on patrol. The pilots spotted flashes from the ground and mistook the training as enemy fire. Despite being told friendlies might be present, one pilot released a 500-pound laser-guided bomb. It exploded directly on the Canadian position. The results were catastrophic. 4 Canadian soldiers were killed instantly, and 8 more were wounded. It was Canada's first combat deaths in Afghanistan, and they hadn't come from Taliban fire. They had come from their closest ally. The shockwave rippled through both countries. Investigations revealed the pilots had violated orders by dropping the bomb without proper clearance. They claimed they thought they were under attack, but the inquiry held them responsible for failing to confirm their target. The tragedy strained U.S.-Canadian relations and raised questions about coordination in coalition warfare. For the families of the fallen, the Tarnack Farm incident was devastating. But Canadian troops continued their mission in Afghanistan, honoring their comrades by carrying on the work. The blunder remains one of the most painful reminders of how even modern technology can't eliminate human error in war. From 18th century Austria to colonial America to 21st century Afghanistan, the thread is the same. Confusion, panic, or misjudgment can turn deadly. These aren't just stories of war. They're stories of how human mistakes can be just as deadly as enemy bullets. The Battle of Caransebeş became a cautionary tale of drunken chaos. Washington's skirmish showed the dangers of poor communication in darkness, and Tarnack Farm proved that even advanced allies can strike each other down. Each reveals a truth. In war, the line between order and disaster is razor thin. These are the moments that sound like fiction, yet they're real. Armies undone by themselves, leaders forced to stop their own men, soldiers lost not to the enemy, but to tragic mistakes. These military blunders nobody believed were real remind us that history is never as clean as the textbooks suggest. History isn't just about victories, it's about mistakes we're still trying to learn from. Which of these blunders shocked you the most? The drunken collapse at Caransebeş, Washington's tragic friendly fire, or the Canadian loss at Tarnack Farm? Share your thoughts below. I'll be reading them.